press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello, welcome back once again to online classes. In case of last class, that is, we are discussing some of the organs. Some of the organs, they are also involved in excretion. What are those? Other than kidney, of course, the kidney is the excretory organ and it is most important in the elimination of nitrogenous waste in the mammalian body. That excretion is mainly done by the kidney. Other than this kidney, some of the organs such as lungs, as well as liver, and also skin, they are the organs involved in the excretion other than kidney. Maybe I have already discussed that is the lungs is one of the organ that can able to eliminate one of the waste product such as carbon dioxide. You should remember how much quantity of carbon dioxide will be eliminated from the human body, around about approximately about 200 ml per minute. Along with the CO2, some of the water molecule also been eliminated through that is expiration. Of course, lungs involved in the respiration, that is through the expiration. About 200 ml of carbon dioxide along with the water molecule that is being eliminated through the expiration. As a result, the CO2 will be eliminated. Similarly, liver, it's also one of the organ involved in the excretion. Of course, this liver is one of the largest exocrine gland. It can able to eliminate. You should note what are the substances being eliminated by the liver. Usually the liver that going to secrete the bile juice. That bile juice containing some of the biliverdin as well as bilirubin and also cholesterol, is it not? And also the degraded hormones, steroid hormones, as well as the drugs, whatever the drugs we take after degradation, such drugs also been eliminated through the bile juice, and also degraded vitamins. All these elements, they are being eliminated along with the digestive waste. Is it not? Okay. What about the skin? Of course, skin is the protective covering of the human body. That skin which is provided with two specialized glands such as sweat glands and also another one, sebaceous gland. Usually sweat gland, the glands involved in the production of sweat. Of course, the sweat primarily involved in providing a cooling effect. That is, whenever the body temperature rises just because of increased atmospheric temperature, as a result, immediate response, that is a sweat gland, they are going to produce the sweat and thereby it provides cooling effect. That is mainly involved in the thermoregulation. That thermoregulation is one of the example for homeostasis. Okay. Other than this, The sweat gland involved in the excretion, what is the main function of the sweat gland involved in the particularly excretion, that is through the sweat some of the sodium chloride, what are the elements been eliminated along with sweat, you should note down NaCl, as well as some amount of urea and also lactic acid. Similarly, sebaceous gland, okay, sweat gland along with the sweat, three substances been eliminated such as NaCl, urea and lactic acid. What about the sebaceous gland? Usually this sebaceous gland that can able to produce the sebum, that is oily secretion in the skin. And that oily secretion that is going to protect the skin, of course, along with that the sebum that can able to eliminate, along with the sebum it can able to eliminate some of the substances such as sterols, you should note down, along with the sebum, sterols, as well as the hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons also been eliminated through the sebum, and especially the wax. Is it not? I have already discussed these concepts. Next to this, that is some of the organs you should remember as far as the board and as well as a competitive point of view. Some of the organs, they are involved in excretion other than kidney, such as lungs, liver, skin, that skin with specialized glands called as sweat gland and sebaceous gland. What are the substances should be eliminated by these organs? Lungs involved in the elimination of carbon dioxide through expiration, while liver involved in the elimination of some of the bilirubin, bilirubinin, and also some of the cholesterol, degraded vitamins, steroid hormones, as well as the drugs. And coming to the skin, sweat gland and sebaceous gland. What are the content, what are the substances been eliminated through the sweat? NaCl, urea and lactic acid. While in case of sebaceous gland, that can able to secrete sebum, through that sebum it can able to eliminate the chemical substances. Some of the wastes such as sterols, hydrocarbons, as well as the waxes. And one more thing is, that is the saliva. Along with the saliva, that is small amount of nitrogenous waste are also been eliminated. You should note down this also, that is saliva. Along with the saliva, some small amount of nitrogenous waste were eliminated. Okay. Next to this concept, that is then move on to the last content in the excretory products and as well as their elimination. What are the contents to be discussed? That is the disorders of excretory system. Okay. Of course, there are several disorders like the excretory system. There are several disorders with pertaining to the excretory system, and few of them, that is, we will discuss. Let us the disorders pertaining to the excretory system, or it may be the disorders pertaining to the kidney or nephron. Such kind of disorders we call it as excretory disorders. Some of the excretory disorders, such as one important, that is one of the uremia. Uremia is one of the excretory disorders. What is this uremia? It is the disorder pertaining to the excretory system, and the name itself indicates. Uremia is the excretory disorder in which the accumulation of urea, a disorder in which the accumulation of urea in the blood due to malfunctioning of the kidney. That means improper functioning of the kidney. Suppose the kidney failed to eliminate the nitrogenous waste from the blood. So such urea, that is one of the nitrogenous waste, such nitrogenous waste could not be eliminated by the kidney. Such condition, as a result, that will lead to the accumulation of urea in the blood. The disorder is known as uremia. That is, uremia is one of the excretory disorder in which the accumulation of urea just due to the malfunctioning, or it may be improper functioning of the kidney. As a result, the urea will be accumulated in the blood. The condition is called as uremia. Of course, the normal function of the kidney has to eliminate the nitrogenous waste, that is one of the urea from the blood. Average, that is per day about 25 to 30 gram of urea being eliminated per day. That is a healthy kidney. If the kidney is under malfunctioning, improper functioning of the kidney, as a result the urea cannot be eliminated and it is being accumulated in the blood. Such condition is called as the uremia. Usually, as a result of uremia, that urea will be accumulated in the blood, and that urea is a toxic, and that may lead to, that is, the death of the individual. Because of improper or malfunctioning of the kidney, as a result the urea will be accumulated in the blood and it is being toxic, that may lead to the death of individual. And this particular condition, that is called as uremia. Just because of this uremia, that may also lead to, that is, kidney failure. Because of accumulation of urea, that may lead to, that is, the failure of the kidney, that is, kidney failure, or it may also called as renal failure. Renal failure or kidney failure. How we can define the renal failure or kidney failure? It is the condition in which the kidney kidney fails to perform its normal function. Suppose the kidney, whenever it fails to perform its normal function, that means normal function is to eliminate the urea from the blood. How much quantity of the urea will be eliminated from the blood per day? About 25 to 30 gram of urea being eliminated from the human body per day. If such quantity of urea will not be eliminated and the kidney fails to perform its normal function, that kidney fails to purify the blood, that condition we call it as a kidney failure, or it may be renal failure. Since the renal failure, that is mainly due to particularly the accumulation of the urea. So the renal failure is the condition in which kidney fails to perform its normal function, so the urea will be accumulated. The condition is known as kidney failure or renal failure. Okay, for this reason, that may lead to the death of individual just because of kidney failure. So how we can able to treat the kidney failure patient? How well we can able to treat the kidney failure patient or renal failure patient? That is one best solution, one best treatment for the kidney failure. You may be aware of that the treatment, that is one of the hemodialysis. Hemodialysis is one of the treatment for kidney failure patients. That is the hemodialysis, it is a temporary treatment. Then what about the permanent treatment? That is only is the kidney transplantation. Kidney transplantation, that is the only permanent measure, permanent treatment, sorry, not measure. The permanent treatment for kidney failure will be the kidney transplantation. So let us discuss these two. By the help of these two, we can able to treat the kidney failure or renal failure patient. How best we can treat this condition? Let us go through it one by one. Let us discuss. That is, one is the hemodialysis. Hemodialysis. The name itself indicates hemo, that is the blood. Okay, hemodialysis is a temporary treatment for the kidney failure patient. What is this hemodialysis? It is the process of separation of it is the process of separation of nitrogenous waste from the blood by using the artificial kidney machine. Just like kidney, one of the artificial kidney machine, through the help of such artificial kidney machine, the blood of a patient can able to separate in the blood of a patient the presence of nitrogenous waste. Such nitrogenous waste can be separated by using the artificial kidney machine That is the process we call it as a hemodialysis. So the hemodialysis is the treatment for kidney failure patient in which it involves the separation of nitrogenous waste from the blood of patient by using artificial kidney machine. That is one of the process is known as hemodialysis. Okay. How this hemodialysis will be carried out? Question arises, of course, by the help of hemodialysis that can able to separate the nitrogenous waste from the blood, that is by using artificial kidney machine. So, how this process that helps to separate the nitrogenous waste and how those nitrogenous wastes are separated from the blood. Let us study on that factor, that is during hemodialysis the blood of patient, the blood of kidney failure patient is drained through one of the convenient artery using convenient artery. The blood of patient will be passed by using or drained by using convenient artery into the dialyzing unit. That is dialyzing unit is nothing but a artificial kidney machine. The dialyzing unit is the artificial kidney machine. By using a convenient artery, the impure blood of the patient is being carried into the dialyzing unit. Before carrying into the dialyzing unit, you may be aware of that whenever the blood of patient which is taken to the outside environment, immediately the blood will result in the coagulation. That is the clotting of blood. So, to prevent the coagulation of blood in the artery, we should add one of the anticoagulant that is called as heparin. So, by using heparin, that is one of the anticoagulant, that prevents the clotting of the blood in the artery. So, the blood of patient is drained into the dialyzing unit by using convenient artery, and before transferring it should be added with anticoagulant, that is the heparin. It is one of the anticoagulant, that means against to the coagulation, since it is called as anticoagulant. Such anticoagulant that prevents the clotting of blood in the artery, and through that artery the impure blood of the patient can be transferred into the dialyzing unit. Usually that dialyzing unit, already we told that is artificial kidney machine is one of the dialyzing unit. That dialyzing unit, it is also known as artificial kidney machine. That dialyzing unit, what it contains? Usually the dialyzing unit composed of coiled cellophane tubes. Usually the dialyzing unit composed of coiled cellophane tubes, and such cellophane tubes they are being immersed or surrounded by some of the dialyzing fluid. Usually dialyzing unit is nothing but an artificial kidney machine. Such artificial kidney machine having coiled cellophane tubes. Much coiled cellophane tubes, they are surrounded or they are immersed in a dialyzing fluid. That dialyzing fluid having the same concentration, same composition of plasma. Just like plasma, whatever the plasma, the composition are there, same composition will be present within the dialyzing fluid. So the dialyzing fluid is similar to the plasma in composition except nitrogenous waste. That means the nitrogenous wastes are absent. Except these nitrogenous waste, it is similar to the plasma, that plasma having some of the nutrients. So the dialyzing fluid without nitrogenous waste, it is almost having the same composition as that of plasma, and totally the nitrogenous wastes are absent. Okay, such dialyzing fluid, that is along with coiled cellophane tubes in a dialyzing unit. Usually the blood of patient carried through convenient artery added with heparin so as to prevent the coagulation of the blood, and after this through this artery it is carried to the dialyzing unit. Such dialyzing unit having a coiled cellophane tubes, and such coiled cellophane tubes, they are immersed or surrounded by dialyzing fluid, and the fluid in the dialyzing unit is known as dialyzing fluid. Such dialyzing fluid having a same composition as that of plasma, you should remember, without nitrogenous waste. The nitrogenous wastes are absent in the dialyzing fluid. And then the coiled cellophane tubes, usually they are porous in nature. What do you mean by porous? That is, they are having a minute pores on the surface. The coiled cellophane tubes, they are porous in nature, that is having a minute pores, and through the help of such pores, the molecules will exchange according to the concentration gradient. You should note down, that is because of porous nature of the coiled cellophane tubes, they are having minute pores. Through that minute pores, the molecules in the blood, and as well as dialyzing fluid, that will going to exchange according to the concentration gradient. That means the blood, usually the blood of the patient, which is having increased concentration of nitrogenous waste such as urea, is it not? Because the blood of patient, kidney failure patient, which is transferred into dialyzing unit, and that blood having higher concentration of nitrogenous waste. While consider the dialyzing unit, which is totally nitrogenous wastes are absent. Absence of nitrogenous waste, total absence of nitrogenous waste. So the concentration of nitrogenous waste, which is low in the dialyzing unit, while the concentration of nitrogenous waste in the blood will be more. According to the concentration gradient, such nitrogenous waste such as urea will be transferred into dialyzing fluid, and the dialyzing fluid having correct concentration of plasma, correct composition of plasma, such molecules will be transferred into the blood. since the blood having the urea will be move into the dialyzing fluid. From the dialyzing fluid, some of the molecules, that is the essential molecules, will be passed into the blood. As a result of porous nature of the coiled cellophane tubes, through that pores, the molecules between blood and as well as dialyzing fluid will going to be exchanged only according to the concentration gradient. The blood which is having increased concentration of urea, such urea will be passed into dialyzing fluid. From the dialyzing fluid, the nutrients will be transferred into the blood. So there will be exchange between the molecules between a blood and a dialyzing unit. As a result of this, the nitrogenous waste such as urea, will be eliminated from the blood into the dialyzing fluid. And from the dialyzing fluid, the nutrients will going to be entered into the blood. Then, after separation of nitrogenous waste, okay, the blood of patient will be carried by using a convenient artery added with heparin so as to prevent coagulation, and then it is transferred to the dialyzing unit. Actually, the dialyzing unit contains the coiled cellophane tubes, and they are immersed or they are surrounded by the dialyzing fluid, and the dialyzing fluid having the same composition as that of plasma without any nitrogenous waste. And because of porous nature, the coiled cellophane tubes, usually porous nature, through those pores, some of the molecules will going to exchange between blood and as well as the dialyzing fluid only according to the concentration gradient. That is, the molecules will move from higher concentration to lower concentration. Because of this, the blood will loses the urea into the dialyzing unit. The dialyzing fluid that will releases the nutrients into the blood. Thus, the urea molecule, urea, will be separated from the blood only according to the concentration gradient. Okay. After separation of nitrogenous waste. Okay. After the separation of nitrogenous waste, then okay. After separation of the nitrogenous waste, that is from the blood, such blood that is being carried through one of the vein, through the vein, such purified blood, then once again it is transferred to the blood of patient. And one thing, after the separation of nitrogenous waste from the blood, that purified blood, that is by using a suitable vein, once again it is transferred to the patient body by using suitable vein. One thing, that is before transferring the blood of patient into the dialyzing fluid, we are added with heparin, is it not? Why should be heparin to be used because the heparin it prevents the clotting of the blood in the dialyzing unit. So as to prevent the clotting of the blood, we are going to add the heparin. After that, the dialyzing fluid, the blood will not going to be coagulated and the nitrogenous waste which are being separated according to the concentration gradient, that is by using the coiled cellophane tube and as well as dialyzing unit. Is it clear? Okay. After this, such purified blood to be transferred into the patient body by using a suitable vein once already we have added heparin. We cannot able to remove the heparin. So, in order to restore the coagulation property in the blood, in order to restore the coagulation property in the blood, what is to be needed? It should be very much essential, that is restoring of coagulation in the blood. So as to restore the coagulation of the blood, we should add one of the chemical, that is being anti-heparin. We should add one more chemical before transferring into the patient body, that is anti-heparin should be added. Since this anti-heparin, it is antagonistic to the heparin that prevents the coagulation, and this anti-heparin it restore the coagulation property. That means whenever the blood of patient that is being passed outside, immediately around 3 to 4 minutes the blood undergo coagulation. So as to restore the coagulation, it is very needed because it is going to be prevent the excessive bleeding. So as to stop the excessive bleeding, the blood undergoes the coagulation. That coagulation property can be restored by adding the anti-heparin. One thing, after adding anti-heparin through the suitable vein, it is been transferred into the patient body, and the whole process we call it as a hemodialysis. Okay, hemodialysis, that is the process of separation of nitrogenous waste such as urea from the blood by using artificial kidney machine. How the hemodialysis being carried out, that is the blood of patient by using convenient artery by adding heparin transferred into dialyzing fluid, where the blood can be purified. That is because of that the dialyzing unit is also known as artificial kidney machine. That dialyzing unit having a coiled cellophane tubes, and they are immersed in a dialyzing fluid, and the dialyzing fluid composed of same nutrient as that of plasma without any nitrogenous waste. And the coiled cellophane tube, they are porous in nature, since the molecules will be exchanged between blood and dialyzing unit. As a result, the nitrogenous waste will be eliminated, and after the purification of the blood, once again by using a suitable vein, it is transferred into blood of patient. Before transferring through the vein, that is the blood will be added with anti-heparin, that anti-heparin that can able to restore the clotting process or coagulation process. So after adding anti-heparin by using a vein, it is transferred once again to the patient body. The whole process is known as hemodialysis. Other than this, it is a temporary method. Then what about the permanent method to treat kidney failure patients? What is the permanent method to treat kidney failure patients? That is the permanent method is the kidney transplantation. That is the process of transplanting the kidney, that is from the donor into the kidney failure patient. Kidney failure patient. The process of transplanting the kidney of a healthy donor into the kidney failure patient. That is the only permanent treatment for the kidney failure patient, and that would require the donor should be close relative. Of course, it requires the blood group matching as well as the tissue matching. Why that tissue matching is needed? Because the close relative, that is why should tissue matching is required? Because the close relative, if the donor is a close relative, then the almost tissue will be matched easily. Suppose for this reason, suppose the tissue matching is not proper, then we are having a very much advanced clinical methods will be there. Clinical methods will be there so as to avoid immune response. Usually what happens, that is the donor for the kidney failure treatment, that is the kidney transplantation, is the only permanent method. That healthy donor should be close relative, because for the proper tissue matching, why that tissue matching is required? Because once the kidney of the donor can be transplanted into the patient, that patient immune response will going to reject the transplanted kidney. Of course, you may be aware of that. What is that immune response? What is that immune response? That is whenever a foreign particle enters into the body, whenever the foreign particle, either it may be pathogen or it may be cell, whatever it may be, foreign particle enters into the body, our immune system recognizes that foreign particle, and by the help of the immune system, it can able to produce the antibodies against the particularly that foreign particle, and such antibodies they going to destroy such foreign particle. That is, we call it as an immune response. Whenever the foreign pathogen, or it may be any kind of cells, or it may be any kind of molecule other than the body, whenever it is entered into body, immune system will going to recognize and activate, and thereby it produces the antibodies against to that foreign particle, and such antibodies that can able to kill or destroy the foreign particle. Similarly, we are transplanting the kidney of one person to the another person. So there might be difference in the tissues. So the patient body that is having a immune response, immediately it whenever the kidney is transplanted into the patient body, usually that patient body that develops immune response. As a result of this immune response, that will going to produce antibodies against to this the kidney cells. So that antibodies that can able to destroy the kidney, whatever the transplanted kidney, that will be destroyed because it recognizes as a foreign particles. So to avoid this immune response, so to avoid the immune response, nowadays several clinical methods are there. Because of that, I am quoting one of the factors. Several clinical methods are there. Several clinical methods are there to avoid the immune response, to suppress the immune response. Such immune response suppressing agents are there nowadays available, such as one is the cyclosporin. Cyclosporin A. It is one of the immune suppressing agent. You must remember that is immune suppressing agent. Immune suppressing agent. The name itself indicates it suppresses the immune system. Usually this cyclosporin A, that is you are going to learn in the class 12. Then within the chapter, under the chapter microbes in human welfare. So nowadays for the effective kidney transplantation, oftenly it requires close relative for the purpose of tissue matching, because the tissue of one individual will be varied from another. So whenever the kidney is transplanted into the patient body, immediately the patient will develop immune response against to the transplanted kidney, and that may going to be destroyed in a due course of time. To avoid this, that is nowadays several clinical methods are there. One such method, that is immune suppressing method. By using the immune suppressing agent, that immune suppressing agent is one of the cyclosporin A, that is one of the bioactive molecule you are going to learn in the class 12. That is cyclosporin A, that is derived from one of the fungi called as Trichoderma polysporum. Trichoderma polysporum. Such immune suppressing agent should be given to the patient. Such immune suppressing agent given to the patient. Then only after administering such immune suppressing agent to the patient, then only the kidney transplantation can be made easily. So it is only the permanent treatment for kidney failure patients. Okay. Other than these, what are the disorders of excretory system? So far we learned about uremia as well as the kidney failure, and the kidney failure can be easily treated by the effective methods such as permanent and as well as temporary methods. The temporary method will be the hemodialysis, while the permanent method is the kidney transplantation. Okay, after this, two more excretory disorders. Two more disorders of excretory system, that is one more, that is called as renal calculi. calculi, or it may also called as kidney stones. Of course, kidney stones, familiar, a disorder pertaining to the kidney, or it may also called as renal calculi. What is a renal calculi or kidney stones? That is the formation of stones, hard solids, that is or it may be insoluble crystalline salts. That is the stones. It is the condition in which the stones or solids or insoluble crystalline salts formed in the kidney. Formed in the kidney due to, that is the formation of the stones or the solids, or it may be insoluble crystalline salts in the kidney. The condition is called as renal calculi, or it may be called as kidney stones. So such kidney stones is mainly due to, why the kidney stones going to occur in the particularly, especially in case of man, that is the kidney stones just because of increased concentration of minerals such as oxalates, calcium oxalates, calcium oxalate rich content, or the increased concentration of minerals such as calcium oxalates in the blood. As a result of increased calcium oxalate in the blood, and such calcium oxalate, they aggregate together to form such insoluble crystalline salts. That is the odd solids or stones in the kidney, that is mainly due to the increased concentration of the calcium oxalate content in the blood, that is may aggregate all those calcium oxalate, they aggregate together and they gradually form insoluble crystalline salts in the kidney. So the condition is known as kidney stones because of one reason, increased calcium oxalate content, and one more reason, because that is the people who consume less amount of water, less quantity of water, those will going to be affected by this kind of disorder, that is the kidney stone. The people who consume less amount of water, in those the concentration of minerals such as calcium oxalate increases in the blood. As a result, such calcium oxalate, increased calcium oxalate, they aggregated together to form the insoluble crystalline salts. Hence, that is the one more reason, that is the people who consume less amount of water. So, preferably, that is healthy person will require around, that is 3 liters of water per day. So, as to avoid these kind of renal calculi or kidney stones. Other than this, one more, that is we call it as one more disorder, that is called as glomerular nephritis. Glomerular nephritis. Another one, another kidney disorder, that is the glomerular nephritis. that is glomerular nephritis is one of the disorder pertaining to kidney or excretory system. Such glomerular nephritis that can be defined as the inflammation of glomerulus. The inflammation of glomerulus of the nephron. So, the name itself indicates what is glomerular nephritis. That is the glomerular, that is the inflammation of the glomerulus. The glomerulus is the part of nephron, that is the initial part of nephron, that is glomerulus. Such glomerulus undergo inflammation. The inflammation of the glomerulus in the nephron, we call it as a glomerular nephritis. What is this inflammation? The question arises. What is that inflammation? Usually, this inflammation is characterized by redness as well as swelling and pain, irritation. They are the symptoms of the inflammation. Inflammation is a response of immune system. Whenever the injury to the tissue, immediately the injured tissue will undergo inflammation, that is characterized by injured part will show the redness or swelling or pain, irritation. All these the symptoms of inflammation. So, inflammation is nothing but an immune response whenever the injury to the organs, that injured organ will show the redness, swelling, pain and irritation. Maybe someone beat you. The injured organ, injured part will show this kind of response. Redness is there, swelling is there, pain is there and also irritation. That inflammation is the immune response so as to avoid the such symptoms to the other organs. Suppose someone beats you, particularly in the cheek, you may observe the redness. Of course, swelling is there, then pain is there and also irritation. And such characters are the inflammatory characters. That inflammatory characters is developed by the immune system in response to the injury. So, if the inflammation is absent, then the pain will be carried to all the part of the body. Because of inflammation, that can restrict the pain, to the injured region so as to avoid the pain to the other organs. Since the inflammation is one of the immune response developed by immune system, it shows the following characters: redness, swelling, pain and irritation. They are the characters of inflammation. Here, the inflammation of the glomerulus. I am telling about the inflammation of glomerulus, that is the nephron part, the initial part of the nephron, first part of the nephron, that is the glomerulus, that contains network of blood capillaries. Such network of blood capillaries is a glomerulus. Within that, we are studied two arteriole, afferent arteriole, and another one is efferent. Is it not? Afferent arteriole, which carry the blood towards the nephron, while efferent artery that carry the blood away from the nephron. Since both are very important for carrying the blood, that is the impure and as well as purified blood. That network of such blood capillaries is called as glomerulus. Whenever the injury to the glomerulus, it undergo inflammation. As a result, that shows the redness, swelling, pain and irritation. Once the glomerulus undergo inflammation and within the nephron, the injured nephron could not able to purify the blood. As a result, that may lead to the accumulation of urea. Okay, you just go through with the definition, not all the details are not required. That is, glomerular nephritis is nothing but an inflammation of glomerulus in the nephrons, is known as glomerular nephritis. So, what is inflammation? We should know what is inflammation. Inflammation is the response, immune response against to the injury, and it is characterized by redness, swelling, pain and irritations. That is through the glomerular nephritis. Okay, we are discussed. That is the disorders of excretory system. 4 such disorders. One such, that is renal calculi, as well as glomerular nephritis, along with that kidney failure and also kidney stones. So that is under the disorders of excretory system. Okay, under the excretory products and their elimination, that is we are discussed starting from the excretory organs as well as modes of excretion pertaining to humans, human excretory system, detailed study of internal structure of kidney, as well as the microscopic tubule nephron. By the help of nephron, how the urine will be formed, under physiology of urine formation, and the urine will be much more concentrated. How such concentrated urine going to be formed? We have studied under counter current mechanism. By the help of that, the concentrated urine can be formed in all the mammalian kidney. Apart from that, in this chapter, that is regulation of kidney. The kidney function will be regulated by some of the regions in the body, particularly hypothalamus, juxtaglomerular apparatus and also ANF, that is in the heart. And lastly, last session we discussed, that is the organs other than kidney, they are involved in the elimination of waste, that is nitrogenous waste such as lungs, liver, skin, within the skin, sebaceous and sweat glands. And points should be noted, that is whatever the content they are being eliminated, whatever the contents are eliminated by such organs, you should note down that one. And lastly, that is the disorders of excretory system such as renal failure, uremia, renal calculi and glomerular nephritis. Those are the 4 disorders, that is with regard to the excretory products and their elimination. Okay, in the coming sessions we will discuss the next chapters. Thank you.